Day mode is active. Acclimatizing with energy savings.
Hi guys, greetings to all of you. Today is another day, happens to be 20th of January 2025. We still have the XOS version 5.4, and we are actually doing a quick drive to Guangzhou, which will use in most part a highway drive for us to continue to experience the capability of the end-to-end driving using the new drive pipeline. I'm going to activate the system now to see if it can basically do as intended. Okay, it cannot, so it's scan for manual turning. So I am going to take over here and then activate it again. The map destination has already been input. So that is estimating an hour 39 minutes drive. We expect to arrive there around 2:38. It's currently 12:59, almost 1 o'clock. And I hope that, okay, you guys can sort of experience the, the capability. Indeed, what we're looking for is how many disengagements we're going to face. That's a good maneuver in there. And indeed, if there is any disengagement, we're going to do that because we are either feeling a discomfort, a sense of discomfort, sense of not understanding what exactly the car is doing. Sometimes also the disengagement could be because of an erratic behavior, which again could be any of those two. So here it is, engaging. We are now sort of entering into a major road. Someone driving against traffic, and this is a typical sort of scenario you would see almost all the time. People cycling or using parks, crisscrossing most of the times within the city space. People just driving as or riding these mopeds any way and shape they like. We could move faster on this section of the road. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm pretty much urging the car with the accelerator, foot on the pedal to sort of move faster, because I don't want to catch the red light there. And I'm trying to make sure that this trip is pretty snappy. I can go in and out pretty fast. Also, we could move a little faster on this section of the road, even though the road has been rated for 60. It's pretty much unoccupied. And fortunately, there is nothing to sort of, put us in a sort of a fix, like a camera or anything. For instance, the car in front of me is moving a bit faster, so I'm also urging the car with the foot on the pedal to move a little faster. Currently moving about 75. Meanwhile, the road is actually rated for 60 km per hour. But this is kind of what you
Activated outside air circulation.
That the car would basically adhere to basic constructs of rules, right? So that's good. But the fact that the human in control has a better visibility on being able to judge and make the right call, effectively helps here. So I can tell it, okay, you can move a little faster, or you can go a little faster. It's okay. We're going to make a hard left turn here. Let's see how it negotiates that left turn. Normally there will be a chime if I don't interact with the system at any point in time, so that it can effectively test my attention. When you hear the chime, I would actually nudge the steering wheel a bit to sort of signal that I am still in control. I still got attention on the road. But this car is equipped with a dual-pronged strategy for attention management. The first one is the vision, which is coming from the camera on the left wing or the A pillar. And then the other one is basically having to actuate, or indeed to tug on the steering wheel to indicate that you're still in control. So given that in certain scenarios, the system pretty much defaults to using the vision, and it doesn't require to target. Now it has chimed, requiring that light turn on the steering wheel. So I'm going to do that. And that pretty much, sets the system to sort of understand that I am still in control. But we've been driving for the past 8 minutes. It didn't chime. And that's pretty good, because that's sometimes annoying. But it's again, it's supposed to serve as a safety, a net, and then also a way by which to effectively keep the driver engaged. Given that this is essentially marketed as an L2 car, an L2 plus car, even though the capability to do L4 is essentially, what it's sort of promoted, sort of by way of capability of the car. So it's sold again from a regulatory point of view, or it's certified from a regulatory point of view as an L2 plus, and then of course the capability within the car itself is promoted as it is an L4 car. It's one of those mix that a lot of manufacturers sort of chain out these cars, try to do in order to avoid regulatory scrutiny, and then also to avoid potential legal ramifications that come out of it. So yeah, it is what it is. We accept it for what it is. But the capability, essentially, as you've seen so far, is normally what you would call, an L4, but with an asterisk, meaning that it's only an L4 within the purview of the fact that I'm using it and it's behaving that way. But in any, court of law, if this car were to hit anybody, it will not be treated, or it will not be recognized as an L4 car. It will be recognized as an L2, meaning that the driver is always in control. Therefore, I will, 100% for failing to effectively control and cause some sort of accident. So I'm going to go through the toll now. And one of the stuff I keep talking about is the lack of capability to, really execute according to the goal. We're just lucky. The car in front was driving pretty, which gave us the opportunity to, be able to go through the toll without any issue. This is another tricky area because we need to be on the far right lane in order to go through this section of the highway. So I had to manually, do that takeover. I'm going to just, sort of engage it back. So that was first disengagement. Now the other thing, or one of the other features that has been indicated in code is the opportunity to engage NGP almost anytime, with any scenario. In the past, especially in the early 4 series, early 3 series, you could not engage NGP whilst you were in a fast corner or you were in a traffic. It needed a clear, almost straight lane ahead in order to effectively be able to, engage it, because then, of course, it's got a plan, it's got confidence, it's high, and it can actuate the steering to effectively, engage the NGP. But now it has been relaxed because confidence factor is pretty high. And ability to control also in corners is also so as a result, I can engage it, whilst in a corner, and if I'm not like too fast, it will effectively engage an NGP. So that's one of the good things that's sort of happened since a while. Let's see how the rest of the journey sort of fares. I'm seeing a bit of a red patch on our route, which is sort of created the sense that, it's leading to a sense that we might spend a little longer on the road than anticipated. I'm going to try to see if I can get a reroute that could help shave off some time. Because now we're projected to arrive around 2:40. I'm going to signal the car to sort of take the spot at me, because it should have, but it wasn't. So I'm going to signal again. There is a car behind. It wasn't too close, but nevertheless, it never did the follow the turn signal requirement. Now it's sort of clear, so we can do the change. That's it. Yeah, so I'm trying to avoid that patch there. Let me see if I could get potential reroute. Yeah, I could do a reroute that would give us 13 minutes less. But we still will go through that patch. And maybe it's a good idea to do that reroute. Even though it adds about 4.2 kilometers more and 6 more, but with 6 less traffic lights, it sounds like a good idea. So let me just do that, replan. So what I'll do is I'll hit the reroute button. I'm getting the 3 routes suggested. This is 14 minutes less, 4.2 kilometers more, and 6 traffic lights less. Sorry, it keeps defaulting back. Just okay. So I will certainly pick that, or I could pick this one, which is even better. Okay, so that sort of like is projecting us to arrive in 6 minutes later. We still need to go through that patch. Sort of, there is no option we still need to go through that patch, but we are effectively going to sort of yeah, it looks like it's really a game of dice now. Traffic on any route is not guaranteed based on current conditions, but I like to sort of avoid a lot of time, on the road. This looks a lot more favorable with the 16 minutes less time, and 4 kilometers less also, but eight more traffic lights on the route. The only, my only worry is that, if I make a decision based on this route as it is now, and conditions change, I could be in a bit of a mess. So I might as well just stick to this particular, route that we've selected now, which got similar time with the middle route, and see how exactly we do on it. Now this is a good thing that I kept talking about in the past, especially with Sharpon on this feature being available, because what you're essentially doing is you're giving control to the driver to make decisions, to change decisions, to alter decisions even in flight. And this is important if you really want to be positioning this car as a driver's car, right? BMW is a driver's car because of the fact that it gives control, and when we talk about control, we're talking about dynamic control or the dynamics of control to the driver. And as a result, it maintained that accolade and kept that accolade for a long time. And the idea with Sharpon and what I keep promoting is that this car could be, positioned as the, as the autonomous car for the driver, right? The car that is, engineered with a set of capabilities that is self-driving, but with the driver, or the pilot, which is a human in this case, having a better control over the actions of the car. And this is one of those things. I could change route. I could make a decision on the route that has been selected, and effectively, execute that route according to my preference. There are a few more additions that I'm hoping that they could add. But I can see some of the updates that have, been implemented being, very helpful. For instance, the lane mode has been sort of included, and you could decide to switch to using, side lanes rather than main ways, or the main roads, or main, so I mean, rather than keep to the main lane, you could effectively use a side lane, and that is a good, that's a very good add-on. I'm hoping that they could also include in the future, the capability to identify, for instance, that's a rest place, and that's 23 kilometers ahead of us. So on this route, I could select the rest place, as my next immediate destination, and that will be added to my route. So I don't need to, back out of the system. Once I select that, the car would effectively, whilst getting close to that particular rest stop, would sort of optimize the use of lane to allow me quickly to exit. It doesn't necessarily need to do the whole thing, but it will prepare the journey in such a way that it makes it pretty easy for me to just get off the highway, or even perhaps engage that that rest stop entry, and then default back to or fall back to LCC. So that's a nifty add-on that again puts the driver's needs at the heart of the journey, or again of the piloting of the car. So those are some very little features. Those are some very little capabilities that could be added to to make sure that the driver centricity is very high, and yet the capability to execute completely autonomously is also very good. Right? So at any point in time when I change my intent, I change my goal or I optimize my goal, I capability to do as well. So that's something that has been asked for. Hopefully it will be executed, but at least one little bit is the capability to now switch to using side lanes, which is a good one. All right, so we've got 80 km clear. The whole thing is going to take us about an hour 29 minutes now. Expected arrival time is 2:47 p.m. And battery capacity that will be left then will effectively take us on a journey of 314 kilometers. So again, that gives us a quick snapshot, which is also very good. From a driver's point of view or from the pilot's point of view, you get visibility of status. That status is very good. Now, what would have been good to equally include, on this screen here, without me having to go to a certain menu, is give me a tire pressure indication across all the four tires. I don't need to go into a special menu to see that. Okay, from a driver point of view, from a pilot point of view, I need to basically see the health of the car across board, irrespective, almost in an easy sort of view, right? So something that could have indicated maybe all four tires are okay, or it could be a very little icon, that could effectively just have show the four tires, just as you see currently with the with the mode of the car. So when you see when you look at the driver panel in the mode of the car, you've got a comfort. I could switch sport and I could see that there. They could effectively do the same thing, but maybe better still, keep the four-wheel axle symbol, and maybe put maybe a little, dial around it, showing, it's all green, means that all the four tires are at the right pressure point or within pressure points that is recommended, and so that's all good. And if one of them effectively isn't, you can just highlight that in red, or maybe multiple of them in red, and then indicate exactly what the tire pressure is. So that I don't need to have a whole big, section of 1/3 of the screen occupying that particular information, because that information is not something that I need, occupying that whole space, or on my display screen. I could simply use that little smart dialog to provide very rich information, yet very simple enough to communicate the status of the car, or to relay the information of the status of the car. So that's some sort of improvement I'm looking for, and then maybe relinquish that item from it being a separate display on the screen, maybe replace that with some other capability that could be showed. Or that could be effectively rendered on the driver display screen, or even in the center console. Yeah. So, well, we've been able to clear the red patch, and we are getting to light traffic. So we just sort of scaled the heavy traffic part, so all the red bit is sort of quenched. We are in the yellow sort of stretch, and it looks like we should pretty much be able to clear this in a short while. On the console here, we see that overtaking style is standard. I could change it to conservative, right? And I don't know whether there's level one. So it's two overtaking styles, standard and conservative. I'm not too sure. I've had a confusion with with this particular labeling, because conservative would have imply that the car will not drive or overtake at will. But in the previous versions, especially when I was using the P7 version, where the XOS was actually in the 2.3 version series, I found it to do the opposite. So conservative was actually being aggressive, and then standard was being conservative. So I don't know whether now the interpretation is correct. We could try and see. So now it's on conservative style, overtaking. Let's see what it does if if the lane is moving slow, and then of course there is opportunity to take. Let's see if the car then continues to stay there, or if the standard is rather the one that is more aggressive. But it doesn't tell a clear story, right? So maybe the convention could have been pretty much more well laid out. For instance, we would say overtaking style is aggressive, or it could be conservative. That's much more representative. Aggressive meaning that any time or any chance you get to take, you will. And then of course conservative means that you're pretty much relaxed with regards to overtaking. You only overtake when it's certainly very obviously needed. Right? Okay, so I need to signal for it to overtake this car in front of me. It wasn't, and so maybe that's again a conservative thing. There is an accident on that patch, which indicates that this is now 22 minutes less. So I'm going to now switch it, see what it does. That means that it needs to change lane to that. So we can avoid that bit over there. Or yeah. And that has sort of reduce our time by 22 minutes, meaning that we are intending to, or we are estimated to arrive around 2:29 versus 2:48, 2:49. That was the problem. Hopefully it's worth it. All right, 28 minutes into the drive. So far we've done one disengagement, and that was at the toll gate, when we had to sort of find a way to be sure we're on the right exit or entry into the highway. This car is signaling, and so as a result, it has to slow down, or it slows down. Now that's sort of a trick you can then play on a self-driving car. All you need to do is signal, and it's going to effectively slow down to allow the car that is signaling to enter. So maybe the better approach there is to rather ensure that you are not slowing down randomly for anyone turning on the signal, and that you can weigh in on the actual situation before you so it's not slowing down and allowing this car to enter into play. It is a polite gesture, but it's a stupid gesture as well, because then it could be used against you. So how would I use it? I think I would perhaps have implemented it a bit more differently. I guess so. That's something talk about later on, in future videos, how that could have been implemented, so to speak. Yeah, so it is tracking through. It is missed the track. We are supposed to go this way. So I needed to disengage. Let's take a second, disengage. And you see the pattern here. So disengagement begin to be more pronounced at every, more or less toll gate. Each toll gate there is a scenario where you have to be attentive on the route that is supposed to be selected. So that is having to disengage in order to ensure that you're on the right route. Yeah, that's I guess that's information or sort of insight that folks can sort of get on this experience. But altogether, it's not bad at all, because if I can reduce disengagement to toll gates, which also I think would almost be acceptable, because entering into toll gates or exiting out of toll gates is very tricky. Okay, there are people who might be wanting to cut through, cut into your lane, or sort of press into your lane and that kind of thing. It's not very oddly sort of space, sort of to be able to learn from. So as a result, if the system currently is not capable of doing 100%, maneuvering within toll gate perimeters, I think it's okay. Hopefully, as time goes on, we might improve from two standpoints. How we effectively manage toll entry could be one way to cascade or cascade the impact on the technology that is being rolled out. So that's one thing. And then the other thing could be that we could effectively also mandate certain constraints on these road networks in order to make that happen. So altogether, the key point here is you're effectively leveraging both policy to help bolster the use of technology, and then on the other part, you're also leveraging technology to help effectively execute policy. Those two have to work hand in hand, and this is where it's quite important for folks to understand that it's not just easy for one policy execution in one environment to almost fit another policy execution in a different environment. It's a very dicey affair here. So you might end up noticing that all these capabilities might not necessarily be available in Europe or in other countries, because it's been optimized for the Chinese market based on the regulations that exist here. And as a result, if any regulator is looking at this or watching this video, when this car is coming into the environment, they need to watch out for quite a number of stuff. A checklist of stuff that you need to watch out for on the car's capability to execute the policy that has been established within that country or that region is a very important checklist to pass, or to certify the car as conformant to the regulations with the level of autonomy that it requires. So all these are stuff that folks need to watch out for. Regulations on one part, the law on the other part, behavior on the road on another part. And we've got quite a number of factors that all need to be put into the frame of what you can call self-driving or an autonomous system. In this case, self-driving cars. So yeah, checking our route. It looks okay. It looks like we could actually do another fast one here, but it looks to me that we add 6 more minutes to our journey, which would have been, we take a quick detour somewhere here. But I sort of think that this is okay. The route we are on, even though it's a little longer, I think it goes all the way up there before it goes through. But nevertheless, this also does all the same thing. So it's almost like approximately same length of the road, but the timing on the one we are on now is a bit better, given that we shave off about 22 minutes, even though there's one that indicates that an extra 6 more minutes will be added. What is the advantage of the extra 6 more minutes? I think it's not a big deal. And so I think maintaining the track we are on now is more than okay. Now we've been on conservative, and you've experienced that it is, pretty much laxed in its, in overtaking. So we could be changing from conservative to standard anytime now, just to see how the car balances the capability or indeed the ability to change route. This section of the highway is usually, it's usually with traffic as well. So one would consider it as normal. So status update, we're 37 minutes into the journey. We've had 2 disengagements, all of them at the toll gates. We've cleared about 2 key traffic hotspots, this being the second one. So far we've had about 2 chimes to engage the car or to effectively signal to the car that we are still attentive. And so far I think it's been okay. I think anyone watching this should pretty much be able to straight away see that this is capable technology, right? It's not. I'm not going to say that it is absolutely spotlessly implemented, but so far as we're concerned, again I keep talking about the capability. And its ability in every point in time. We can almost say that this is as worst as it can be now, right? We expect it to be better, to be improved, hopefully, if the engineers don't mess up. So we expect it to be improved continuously as part of the lifetime of the company. My hope is that the company brings in a lot of expertise, especially leverages foreign expertise, who have a different view to looking at things. I'm not in any way discounting the local talent. I've worked with some brilliant locals in the past, but the opportunity to have the extra pair of eyes from outside. Looking at things can do magical stuff. It can sometimes, close the gap between 98 and 99. It can sometimes, up the ante and as well as, playing within the 75 quartile to playing almost in the 90 quartile. And so, leveraging those expertise can really help to shape up and ramp up the capability very rapidly. And this includes bringing on process experts who understand processes very well, interpret stuff very well, who can analyze stuff in a completely different dynamic, right? And that can be a saving grace in any team that is looking to ramp up its ability to automate very well. This is the third chime, which is effectively asking for a light turn on the steering. I'm going to do that now. We are still in constantly, and I think now I'm going to switch it to standard to see exactly how it behaves. It has been, it's been staying on lane for as well. Even though there was some opportunities to change lanes. So now switch to standard, and let's see how it behaves. Whether it's going to be aggressive as to every opportunity has to change lanes and clear the road ahead. It will then take it. I assume that's what indeed standard means. Also, sometimes there is a problem of language translation, and since now the platform is allowing me to natively interact with the system using English, which is a very good progress. This wasn't available when I had a P7. It wasn't available the first year that I had this car. This was recently just possible, and it's really improved the quality of life that I've got with the product. Again, this is the fourth engagement to let me type on the steering wheel. So I'm going to do that now, and I assume that signal is coming through because this area is a bit complex, especially with folks trying to get off the highway to the rest stop, because again that was a rest stop. So I assume that you put in those conditions as basis to ensure that the driver is attentive in this particular scenario, in this particular area, and as a result, it saves you from any calamity, so to speak. So again, that's a good placement. I think it's well placed. And then of course we see how long it takes us to get the exit clutch. But again, 42 minutes into the drive, we've had 4 alerts to engage the car, which is really good. And so if you're looking at the average, we are getting about a nudge every 10 minutes. And within that 42 minutes, we've cleared also about 40 kilometers. So give or take, we are getting a nudge every 10 kilometers. When I started testing self-driving cars in China, the nudge was almost like every 2 kilometers or every 1.5 minutes. We're getting a nudge. Today we are doing about 10 kilometers or about 10 minutes drive and a nudge. And in some cases, I can go longer, distance without any nudge at all. So that again indicates that the capability and the confidence in the system, or the confidence assumed in the engineering point of view, is going higher and higher and higher. So again, it can certainly not get worse than this. But that is given that the engineering team is really wrapped attention on ensuring that the test process or the quality test process is always top notch and keeps getting better, right? Okay. Well, I don't intend to talk through the whole trip. Otherwise, I might need to definitely stop over to get a drink. My throat is already parched. Given that I've been talking for all this while, and I don't think it's really something all of you want to hear my blah blah blah, all through the journey. You want to experience, what exactly does a car do in certain scenarios? How does a car, maintain the level of confidence in order to, project that confidence to the pilot, for the pilot to allow the car to effectively navigate or take on the road without any disengagement. This is what you want to see. So again, how many disengagements are on the route, how the car behaves on route, and takes on the road ahead. It's what you guys want to see. And so I would try to be mute most of the rest of the journey until where there is something obvious that I can, sort of comment on, and then I'll chip in. So enjoy. Talk about enjoy. You've got a view. I guess I could chip in here, to elaborate on the conservative versus standard overtaking style. And I think also it confirms that conservative style will always overtake to the right, sorry, to the left. So the conservative style will overtake to the left, while the standard style will overtake whether it's left or right. It doesn't matter. So far as it sees the road clear on the left, it will use the left to overtake. If it sees the road clear on the right, it's going to use right to overtake. So I guess that's one of the distinctions or the differences between conservative and standard. Whereas standard would do an overtake whether it's to the left or right. Conservative will only overtake to the right. Perhaps that's something that I just observed. But it's something that maybe I need to keep a better eye on to be sure that is the case. Of course, when it's going to exit, it's going to certainly to a change lane to right. So whether it's conservative or standard, that's a default behavior. But in case of how exactly does the system operate, it seems to conservative is trying to ensure that overtaking is always to the left, and then of course the idea of being standard is whether it's left or right. As far as the road is clear ahead of you, you use whatever lane it is to a change lane. And I've spoken about this quite a number of times, about the fact that the car would always default to stick to the right. You would have seen a couple of those scenarios where the car would normally, try to change lane to be on the rightmost lane. I think it's a policy decision that has been hard coded. That needs to maybe go away. I definitely believe in the use of policy directives sometimes, but not all the time. Because I've seen that that particular policy has been detrimental to XHGP when used within city or town roads. Because a lot of people normally in city or town roads would park on the right shoulder of the road. And as a result, the car, will almost always, be having to challenge itself as to do a change of lane to the rightmost lane and then return back to the left lane in order to navigate city or town roads. So I hope that that policy directive is optimized. Maybe you definitely maintain that policy, but put up more conditions. That helps to alleviate the current experience or the poor experience that a lot of us have complained about. And such directives could include that when at an intersection and the road ahead is clear, there's no need having to change lanes to the left lane. You can still maintain that particular on the next section of the road until such a condition happens where the roads are completely clear, and therefore you then are able to then change lanes to the right lane. Yeah, but these are kind of little insights when you use the technology, and you find out that there are some areas that could be optimized. And I think this is one of those areas that I've complained already about it. I've written a blog about it also on the Xbox platform. That this should be something that hopefully in 2025 it could be addressed. Yeah, so that was an unnecessary thing, meaning that planning still has a problem. Or perception planning, pipeline still's got a problem, and that needs to be optimized. It was obvious before that it could have, pretty much stuck to this particular thing to address that, little bit of a snag back there, but it changed lanes and then decided to change lanes back, which is really not best. Now, this is one of those scenarios where you could use penalty as a basis to limit that kind of rampant or that kind of behavior. But I believe the actual problem should go down to to understand exactly how it is doing perception pipeline in order not to just unnecessarily penalize actions based on just what is observed. I suspect that in that kind of scenario, right, what could be happening is that there could be a latent perception that could have either prejudiced the decision, and as a result, created that unfortunate experience. So I believe that once you get into the heart of the data, to understand what exactly is in the data, you will be able to better implement rules that don't necessarily penalize the decisions based on factors that are perhaps out of control. So in 1 km, we are going to pretty much be changing course. And of course, part of the strategy is to prepare to do that. 1.2 km, 1 km away from that particular exit. So that's what it's doing. Because if it was me driving, I'll definitely have do exactly what the Mercedes-Benz did. Or take that truck and sort of be able to exit this particular highway. So hopefully these are kind of the improvements that also are brought in. The ability to not necessarily be hard coded with policy, but to pretty much be able to determine what is the optimal decision at any point in time without having to be very robotic by way of executing very stringent policies. This section of the highway is rated at 80 km/h limit. You can certainly see cars are moving faster than me. And I also am pressed for time, so I'm going to basically change the limit on the car. And I'm going to send it to 100. And so that's manually overriding the locked-in limit or the perceived limit on the road. And what this does is that it allows you to again stay in control, be able to control the car, and not let the car only live up to specific controls that are baked into it or again as part of what's observed on the road. So here I've decided to override the speed limit. Hopefully, with the intent that there is no cameras on this route that will detect, or perhaps be a problem. So here's a case, for instance, where it is, 80. So I'm backing down, hopefully, to get within the speed requirement, and then I would again send it to go high. Okay. Now, what would have been good here is to again, it's an opportunity for improvement. To set up predefined speed, targets. So I can set 100 and 120, 110. At any point in time, if I feel that I want to, quickly ramp up speed to a certain limit that I've set, that I can just, punch that in or just select that, and then automatically that gets sort of applied. Now that is not the case. I have to manually use a scroll wheel to dial up the speed, like what I'm doing now. I'm using the the scrolling button on the steering to dial up the speed. It's okay, given this is the current implementation. But I think in the future, if you're looking at it from a driver's point of view, I don't want to do this. All I want to do is just, hit a button. I've gone in there to set that speed. So far as that speed is something that is it's within the limit of NGP being able to operate, should allow me to just set that, I could just hit 100, boom, that goes for 100, and then the car ramps up speed to sort of catch that sort of target. If I wanted to back down to 50, I just set it 50, and the car backs down to 250. So that is that's something that would definitely enhance the experience. And lo and behold, guys, that's Guangzhou, right in front of us. Guangzhou Tower is exactly what you see in that that section there. Last tower to the left. But again, that's Guangzhou there. So those that are looking to see Guangzhou from a distance, this is an opportunity to see it on the highway. I'm going to just back down to 80. Right, ramp up again. Or it's too much work, just leave that in, let it do its stuff. Quick time check. 82 km into the journey. We've been on the road for 1 hour 9 minutes. And so far, it looks like we are doing quite okay. We are nearing the toll gate. And NGP is sort of defaulted to LCC. So we need to take over here because the car essentially is just doing lane so that we could certainly go through this toll gate. Right, so we through the toll. Wait a second until we get a good marked up section of the way, and then I can engage it. Be back in NGP mode. Feet on pedal to move a little bit faster. The limit on this road is 60, and I'm going to let the car just maintain that. We are projected to have a bit of some traffic ahead of us, and that traffic, I guess, is the traffic because of that traffic light. So hopefully it moves pretty snappy. There isn't any indication of time on it. Let's see if maybe after recentering we can have some sort of projected time in that traffic. Hopefully as we get close, we'll get an indication of how long it's going to take us to traffic light. But again, so far it seems that's the only bit that we need to deal with, and then the rest would be pretty smooth for us to take on. Well, so it's projected to take us 3 minutes to scale that traffic. So hopefully it is 3 minutes and nothing more. Well, it's slamming the brake over there, which also signals a poor planning. So it goes back to the point I made before. The perception, planning pipeline still needs a lot of optimization. Either that, or perhaps there is a mechanical actuation problem with this car that needs to be updated or that needs to be changed. It could be that, for instance, the pressure, what you call the pressure curve for applying the brake, this car is not well optimized, or the pressure curve in this particular model is faulty and therefore needs to be changed in order to get that smooth application of the brakes. And that takes us back to what I talked about, I think in some of the videos I shared in the past. The car is a robot made up of so many actuators and controllers, and each controller is having a feedback to the central brain. And so if a controller is faulty, the sort of feedback is sent to the central brain in order for the central brain to have full control over it. Could also lead to having to have a poor experience or a good experience. So the quality of the actuator or the controller somewhere within the car that controls a specific part of the car, in this case, as an example, is the brake or is the braking, also has a direct impact on the experience that one would have of self-driving capability. So the car is an integration of so many data points and so many control points that it's almost it's almost an essential bit that whenever you're effectively rolling out this technology as an integrated part of many other parts, you certainly need to look at all those factors and ensure that at the end of the day you are effectively able to leverage that data in the right way. Okay, so Yeah, I'm a
1
bit
kilometer.
nervous because that car was pretty close and the car was sort of not exactly giving me confidence. So that's the fourth disengagement, or the fifth disengagement, because I had to do a disengagement again at the toll gate there. So that's the fifth disengagement, and fifth disengagement over a journey of 86 kilometers so far. 1 hour 16 minutes drive, intercity, multiple highways. It's not bad, right? It's not bad. It's not exactly as promised, right? Because again, that's marketing. The delta between marketing and reality is always something that everybody knows. Is up to take it with a pinch of salt. But so far, I think it's pretty acceptable. It's pretty supportive. As far as China is concerned, that's the rollout of this capability. I think this is brilliant. Okay, so it was good. It actually decided to do an evasive maneuver, but evasive maneuvering there, given the road network, maybe at that time wasn't too bad, because there was no car on this lane, so we can do that evasive maneuvering. But again, this is one of the reasons why you need to remain completely attentive. And now we are in the city itself, right? It's no more highway. So a lot of the erratic behaviors that come in by way of city drive now begin to test the capability to its limit. Just like what you saw now. A human driver would have been able to enter into that lane and pretty much created a smooth experience for the drivers on that lane, as well as those in this lane. In this case, it has to sort of stop to perceive, to calculate, ensure that car is not going to hit it before it effectively enters the road. So the experience there becomes a bit more disconnected. But again, when you put this car into the actual city environment, that is when you experience the limit of the experience as to whether it is jarring, it is fluid, it's seamless, or it's a bit more disconnected. And so at this particular point in time, you are experiencing the real capability from a driver's point of view. And at this point in time, you also understand clearly where the discomfort to disengage comes to play. So your attention then gets ramped up severely, and then of course you're looking out for any condition the car can actually make an erratic decision that does not fit the purpose of the scenario that it's in. So yeah, I'll try to let it do its stuff as much as possible. As I indicated, in the city environment, disengagements exponentially rise, and so you shouldn't be sort of like seeing this as abnormal. This is pretty much, I think, in my opinion, very normal, because this is where you get tested about the interaction between a robot and a human on the same road. Human driving the other car adjacent, opposite, in front, behind, and a robot effectively trying to self-locate itself in a fluid circumstance is a very tricky problem to solve. So this is the state of the technology today. Others definitely have a better implementation to it, but it is also coming from the standpoint that again, the combination of technologies used might be much more premium comparatively. So you can get a better sense of a much more natural driving or a natural driver in those kind of scenarios. For instance, with Tesla or Waymo or any of those other key players out there that are not yet in China anyway. So yeah, it is pretty good, to say that the effort taken so far is commendable, and I definitely, as I've already indicated, and I'll continue to emphasize, it should get better. Um, you know, it's, I mean, getting better is contingent on time, contingent also on the kind of expertise that are brought to bear. And so, hopefully, it gets better by way of time. We would hope that that time is shorter, and that time can be shorter based on a couple of other factors, right? The number of the investments that are put in, the amount of data that is leveraged, and then also the amount of expertise that are pretty much are brought on to sort of help to ramp up the capability. So all these are factors as to into determining how fast this gets better. But again, point to be made here is that at least it doesn't get worse than this. We are in standard. The car in front of me is doing about 54. That's what it indicates here because we're keeping almost the same distance. The road itself is rated for 60 km. We can see other cars are effectively moving faster than this car in front of me. I would normally, take the action to want to overtake this car. But let's see if it takes that decision finally. Okay. So effectively now sees that the car is pretty slow. The road is also pretty clear. And can definitely do that change of lane so we can pass the car and be able to max out the the speed limit on this section of the road. So again, for those of you that are watching this, have not been to China or perhaps have heard a lot about Guangzhou, and would like to know exactly what it is like in Guangzhou, you're getting a first-hand experience of what exactly Guangzhou looks like on one side of it anyway. This is not the whole Guangzhou, but at least we're driving through some of the main city roads, and we're seeing the the city landscape, the road network, how drivers been the road, so to speak, at least to some approximation of the general experience. So you could certainly, have a feel of also being taken on a tour through the city, even though this trip is to a specific section of the city. But again, at least it gives you a good impression of Guangzhou as far as the the newer part of it or the developed part of it is. So hopefully you also get to have the advantage of being toured around the city of Guangzhou on this particular drive, and also seeing exactly how the car navigates through Guangzhou from an actual owner's point of view, versus where you are actually seeing the car on a controlled circuit by by the manufacturer. You're actually seeing an owner use the technology on a journey they have actually planned, right? With car, which is for me, a first-hand experience that you can never, you can never discount. Yeah, so the car slowed down there. I had to sort of feed on the pedal to let it move forward faster. Let's see how it does in this section, because we need to take a hard right in 250 meters approximately, and it is certainly doing that. But this car is stopping, so let's see what it does. it might, okay, it's signaled that he's going to try to overtake. The guy has decided to move, and it's signaled again to want to maintain the lane. So there, it's slow, but it's doing the protocol. It's executing the protocol effectively well. What it's doing here is wrong. Again, it's trying to use that potentially as the route to enter or take this turn, which was totally, a human driver would definitely have, seen that that's a bad stop, and definitely not do that engagement. But in this case, it wasn't able to, and it had to sort of navigate that route, observe and see that, oh, it's not a route that it can use to make that turn, and then goes ahead and changes lane back to the main route, goes forward a little bit, and then effectively do the turn to this route. So again, it goes back to some of the stuff that I keep talking about, that it's in some cases the perception train is not as good as one would have wanted. But again, as I keep hinting, hopefully this is the worst that it can be. We've got a bit of a situation ahead of us. This car intends to turn, but the problem now is that truck is also trying to get through there. I guess there's no parking in there, and so it's not being allowed to enter. And I think, okay, trying to see what this car is going to do. The car is stopped effectively, so I need to nudge it to go forward, and so then that hopefully then it can continue here. Okay, so that's the announcement from the assistant. NGP is about to end. Effectively, it's going to come to an end now. And I think this is pretty much where we are supposed to get to. I can again see if I can activate it. It's activated. Another turn here. Okay, so disengagement over there. This last disengagement, which gives us about, so far we are about 8 disengagement. Again, not so bad.
Manual driving mode.
I'm wondering whether this is the... I guess this is the parking. Now this whole area is actually under construction, so it's understandable that it's a challenge with the car being able to identify its way around. It's hopefully it's the right place that I'm getting to. And guys, that was about it. This is all it is for this particular trip. I hope it was informative. I hope you enjoyed it. And I definitely hope to drop another one, maybe before the next software update is in. So thank you very much, and thanks for joining. It was good to certainly explore the limits of the technology, especially as it stands in this current release. Talk to you on the next one. Yes. Bye-bye.